On Daf Ayin Hey Amud Aleph, as you recall, we began the sugya of Ma'aser Ba'adam Echad, the Nasan Einav, the Ishachas. Now, we have a machlokes that's referred to here in the footnotes between the Ramban and the Rambam about something that's called krevas basar la'arayos. And according to the Rambam Shita, with regard to Hilchas Isurei Bia Perek Chaf Aleph, the Rambam says that chibuk v'nishuk, any sort of physical contact with an erva, is asur min Torah. It's prohibited according to Torah law under the pasuk Isha betumas lidasa lo sikrovu, don't come close. However, the Ramban disagrees, and the Ramban writes in his Sefer Mitzvahs, which is Mitzvahs Lo Tasashtim Nun Gimel, that krevas basar la'arayos is only asur midrabanan. It's not d'oraisa. And he says that even according to the Rambam, who holds that chibuk v'nishuk is min Torah, however, his staklus ba'arayos is only asur midrabanan, even according to the Rambam. So now we get back to the question here about things like Talmud Lefanav Aruma, which is an Isur Staklus Ba'arayos, and that would seem to be Yehod Val Yavar in the Gemara. And according to everyone, whether it's the Rambam or the Ramban, it's only an Isur D'Rabbanan. So are we saying now that there's a din of Yehod Val Yavar on an Avera D'Rabbanan? I mean, that would be a pretty way out chiddush. And it seems that the Shach in Yordea, Kuf Nun Zayin Sifkat Yud, addresses this issue of Yehod Val Yavar and Isur D'Rabbanan. So we're going to have to say the following, that although in general, Histaklus Ba'arayos is only asur D'Rabbanan, but here in a case where he's saving his own life by violating this Isur D'Rabbanan Histaklus Ba'araisa, then we're going to apply the Isur D'Oraisa that prohibits a person from saving his life with a chefetz shel harayos. So it becomes now like a D'Oraisa, because the D'Rabbanan generates a status of a chefetz shel harayos. Now again, we said that you cannot save your life, you're not permitted to save your life by causing the death of someone else. In the case of Atzei Asherah, for example, when he's saving his life by using Atzei Asherah, he's not violating an Isur of Avodah Zarah. Or, for example, in the case of Dibur Min Ha'isha Me'achorei HaPargod, he's not violating an Isur of Gili Arayos. That's not similar to saving yourself by causing the death of another Jew. So again, we're going to have to come to grips with this new concept called Avizrayu. Now we're going to say that in the case of a person who worships an Atzei Asherah, that's Avodah Zarah Mamish. But in the case of a person who benefits from Avodah Zarah, that's already Avizrayu Avodah Zarah. In a case of Dibur Ma'isha Me'achorei HaPargod, apparently there's also an extended definition of Gili Arayos called Avizrayu, and what makes it into Avizrayu the Gili Arayos? I can't tell you the answer to this question, but it seems like if you go through the poskim in Shulchan Aruch, for example, there's a whole Simon in Shulchan Aruch, Even Ezer, Simon Chaf Aleph, about various Isurim D'Rabbanan. You get the impression that the Torah prohibits hirhur the arayos, just even a hara with arayos. So maybe when a person in our Gemara is medaber me'achori apargod with an erva, perhaps that could be classified as hirhur erva. And hirhur erva might be avazrayu d'avodah zarah. I'm sorry, avazrayu d'gilui arayos. Sorry. In Histakhlus Biarayos, you might have two categories. You could have Histakhlus Barayos, which is also in and of itself. It's an Isur Histakhlus. That's Holy Dharmana. And that could lead you to Hirhur. And then you could have Histakhlus with Hirhur. And Histakhlus with Hirhur together might upgrade it to the status of an Isur Doraisa, and it becomes of Israel, the Gili Arayos with Yehud Valyam. Now, in this case of the Maisa B'Adam Echad, when we talk about Yehard Valyavor as Avizrayu de Gili Arayos, we're not talking about Kiddush Hashem in the classic sense of give up your life for the sake of protecting, right? If the guy says to you, worship this idol. So you give up your life in order to protect the honor of God. Let's just leave it like that. Then that's Kiddush Hashem. But we mentioned the Balamar, who takes Rava in our Gemara very seriously on Daf Ayin Daled Amud Beis with regard to Esther, that Hanas Atzmo Shiny, that if Achashverosh is only motivated by Hanas Atzmo and not Lavuri Al Das, then there's no Yehard Valyava. And it was the Balamar who made this gigantic leap of faith, and he basically established that even in a case of Avodah Zarah, or shall we say Gili Arayos, if it's Hanas Atzmo, it's not Kiddush Hashem, there's no Mechayev of Yehor Valyav. So Hanas Atzmo is a mitigating circumstance, even with regard to the Averis Chamuras, including Gili Arayos. Now, if that be the case, getting back to Adam Echad, here, what motivates him? He's not trying to violate and desecrate the Torah. It's not Lavuri Al Das, it's all Hanas Atzmo. So, for example, if you remember the Gemara that we had about Kvake Udminki, that we sold to the idolaters, these kinds of heating units to warm up their temples when they worship the idols. And we said that there it's Lanos Atzma Shiny, right? They're not trying to get the Jew to accept idolatry. They just, they need these logs of wood or whatever it is to heat up the freezing temple. And that's Lanos Atzma. So you remember the Gemara on Ayin Dalet and Beis said, "Hani kvake v'demon boniki hechi yavinen lo el hanos atzma shayni hochenami hanos atzma shayni." So the Balamor derived from hanos atzma shayni that even in averos chamuros, even in avodah zara, hanos atzmo is a mitigating factor. So the Ramban, in his attack against the Balamor, says, you know what? The reason why Kvaki and Manki is mutter is because it's not avodah zarah. You know, when the Jew supplies this wood for the heating units in the monasteries, in the temples, okay, that's a violation of a lav of lifnei iver lo sitein michshol, but it doesn't come under the lav of avodah zarah. Meaning the Ramban is of the opinion that your hargval yavar depends upon the isur that you violated. And in Kvanki and Demanki, it's only an isur lav of lifnei iver, and therefore there's no chi of your hargval yavar as far as avodah zarah is concerned. So when you apply the principle of hanos atzma shani in Kvaki and Manki, that's because it's Shara Veros. The Balamar is willing to apply the heter of Hanos Hatzvashani even to Avodah Zarah itself. And this is because the Balamar understood that the Machayev of Kiddush Hashem is not the Maisa Avera per se of Gimel Averos. There might be a chiyuv of yehard val yavar, even when it's not gimel averos. For example, a hatzil es nafsho al yidei chefta shel gila rayis or avodah zarah. So therefore, the Balamor holds that kvaki and manki is a ma'isa avera of avodah zarah. Again, it's not the paramount act of avodah zarah, but nevertheless it is an action of avodah zarah. So even if you would argue that kvaki and manki, by giving them over to the idol worshippers, is not a violation of Isra avodah zarah, but it's a mice of avodah zarah, and that generates a chiv of yehar val yav, because you're not allowed to be matzil yourself through a chefta and a mice of avodah zarah. And if that be the case, then the heter of hanos atzmo operates even with regard to the gimel averos, because we have a maisa of avodah zarah. Now, I want to mention a sugya here of oved mi'ava u'miyira. So these are scenarios in which a person worships an idol, but not out of belief in the idol, but for alternative motives. Like, for example, yira, where he's afraid that if he doesn't worship the idols, who knows what the repercussions might be amongst the goyim. Now, the law of Oved Mi'ava V'yira, according to Rava, back on Daf Samach Aleph, is that he's potter. However, in that very case of Oved Me'yira, there's a halacha of Yehar Val Yav. I mean, why did he worship the idol? Because the guy put a gun to his head. He said, either you worship the idol or I'll kill you. So what's going on over here? On the one hand, we're saying that Oved Me'avir is potter, according to Rav. On the other hand, we're saying that there's a din of Yehar Val Yavar in Avodah Zarah. How do you reconcile that? So you're going to have to say again, there's a Maisa of Avodah Zarah. So he doesn't believe in the Avodah Zarah. But his external action is a Maisa of Avodah Zarah. And therefore there's a din of Yehard Val Yav. Why? Because you're not allowed to save yourself with a Maisa of Avodah Zarah. Like the Maisa of Avodah Zarah makes it like a Cheft of Avodah Zarah. And this is true for all Gimel Averis Chaburos. Now let's mention the very famous Yerushalmi in the 8th parak of Trumos. Seah shel bnei Adam shemahalchim baderech upagu behem listim v'amru tnu lanu echad michem v'im lav narog es kulchem. Al yimsuru nefesh miyisrael yehargu kulam v'al yimsuru nefesh miyisrael. So they're not asking for one particular Jew. You decide which Jew you want to give us. And now the Jewish community has to decide, they have to choose with their own das, which Jew they're going to give up. So they are therefore saving themselves by giving a Jew to die. I have here a note. He says, Omer Yisrael, tainli klei zaynecha va'erog Yisrael. Give me a gun and I'm going to kill a Jew. V'im lav arog oscha v'goyen yochel litlo shalomidato. The guy has no access to this gun without the Jew giving him the gun. And he says, in the name of the Ritva, that ein lo litno, he's not allowed to give him the gun. They lift those nafshu in order to save his life. Again, he's not doing a ritzicha. So why does he have to give up his life? So the answer is he's saving his own life by causing the death of another Jew. Okay, we ran out of time a little bit, so we'll call it here. And so tomorrow, John, you're not around tomorrow, are you? Right. Okay, then. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.